Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over a video that was requested regarding self-loathing and how it can actually push people away. And I think this is a very interesting topic to discuss because self-loathing in of itself is not necessarily a clinical term, but there are aspects of it that can be found in academic research, which is going to be in the description box. And what I kind of described as anything that's self-loathing is some sort of strong, ongoing negative belief about yourself. And it actually has like a big impact on not just how you perceive yourself, but also how you perceive others and interpersonal relationships, which is the focus of what I'm doing for my dissertation, but also both of my channels focus on social psychology and romantic connections. Now, the specific term self-loathing, like I had mentioned, it's not in academic research. However, it very much closely overlaps with any sort of negative self-evaluation, low self-esteem, and self-criticism. And so based on the research, this is kind of something I noticed, and a lot of you guys probably know this anyways, how they talk about themselves is a way to indicate if you are somebody who struggles with self-loathing or this ongoing negative perspective, okay? Constant self-criticism, such as calling yourself useless, stupid, annoying, something of that nature. And a lot of you guys do this. I do read some of the comments. Of course, I'm busy, but I know some of you guys do this and it's not healthy. And what ends up happening is a lot of you guys might also jokingly put yourself down, and you do it often as well. That's also something that I notice how people talk about themselves. Downplaying achievements. It wasn't that big of a deal. Anyone could do it, or rejecting compliments or getting uncomfortable when you're praised. So that's how it's expressed about how you talk about yourself and how you perceive yourself. But how you actually feel inwardly, a lot of times you guys might struggle with a lot of guilt or shame, even about small things. Feeling unworthy of love, kindness, and attention. Another one might be that you actually feel like you're a burden to other people. I see that a lot. It's actually very common. And a lot of people hold that because of the childhood that they've experienced, like the childhood experiences. Your parents may have actually verbally expressed that you are a burden. They might mention that you're not worthy of love, kindness. They might say that you should feel guilty. Otherwise, they may have even like guilt tripped you is kind of a better way to put it, to feel terrible about normal things that you're doing, right? When you're setting boundaries or when you're expressing yourself, your parents might have guilted you. And so now you feel like that's normal. And then the other one is feeling like something is wrong with you as a person. And it's often because your parents have implied that or directly said that. This is very unfortunate that a lot of children who experience this, they become adults who become isolated because of these things, and it pushes people away, which makes them feel like there is in fact something wrong with them, when in actuality these behaviors are just confusing to other people who grew up in healthy homes. It doesn't mean that they say, I don't like a person who dislikes themselves. That's not what's happening. It's usually because themselves, let's say a healthy person. So let's say, for example, let's just give an example of a male. Let's say he's in his 20s, maybe he's in college, okay? So he's a student, and he is attracted and admires this young lady in one of his classes as well. And he likes her. He grew up in a broken home, a traumatic home, and he kind of struggles with this self-loathing. And he likes this girl, but she feels a little bit like she's not as attracted to him. And it's not because of his looks or any of that. He might be an incredibly attractive man. I mean, he's a hypothetical man. We can do whatever we want with this example, but the self-loathing pushes her away because it is, of course, that he's not showing or displaying confidence. But the main reason, which a lot of people do not really understand or emphasize on, is let's say this lady, she grew up in a healthy home. Self-loathing was not something that was common. Autonomy was respected. Her father treated her well. Her mother treated her well. And this young gentleman, for example, let's say he grew up in a home where his mother was very critical. He didn't ever know his father. He had to grow up very quickly. Maybe he had a couple younger siblings that he had to help raise. He became like the pseudo father, which is a very abnormal quality in these types of families, where the mother leaned on him, but also was incredibly critical of him. So now this young gentleman here, he is struggling with all these negative emotions, and he struggles with the self-loathing. And for her, she grew up understanding, love and relationships incredibly different. So the reason their lack of attraction, particularly on her side, is because she can't understand what he's feeling. Whereas for him, he knows that what he's experiencing subconsciously and consciously is abnormal. He knows what a healthy family looks like. He saw it with his friends. He sees it on TV. He understands and can feel that what he grew up with, it's not healthy. That is a psychological mechanism. He knows that there's something wrong. And so he's aware of his perspective and her perspective because of that, but she's not aware of his perspective because she grew up in a healthy home. And so often, a lot of times individuals get into relationships and get attracted to people that they're familiar with for a safety reason. Psychologically, biologically, men and women both do this. And so if she grew up with a father who was stable and comfortable and didn't have self-loathing behavior, she's going to be more attracted to men who are more like that. Whereas a woman who might be more attracted to a person who's self-loathing, she might have her own background. And so a lot of times, if a person struggles with this, you might be drawing in people who are not as healthy. And so how do these men or women who struggle with self-loathing, how do they act in relationships? They typically apologize excessively. They have people-pleasing tendencies and struggle to say no. They may need a lot of reassurance or assume other people are upset with them. And often what happens is you might actually pull away from people or push people away when they start getting close. Some people do that, okay? And so how do you guys handle conflict? Often you're extremely hard on yourself for small mistakes. You take blame even when it's not yours, or you avoid blame completely because you're so afraid of taking blame and doing something wrong. You might avoid conflict out of fear of rejection, and you might shut down emotionally when you're criticized, okay? And then how do you treat your own needs? Ignore your own feelings, to be completely honest. I'm always trying to be direct with you guys. It's a waste of your time if I beat around the bush. You just ignore how you really feel and your own needs, and you actually believe that other people matter more than you do, and you have very poor treatment of yourself. Like, you almost accept poor treatment because you subconsciously feel like that's how you should be treated. So then how does this create issues within relationships? Why are these factors an issue? First of all, it does affect trust. When you feel unworthy of yourself, you may doubt compliments, and then you assume that people will eventually leave you. And that makes it hard for your partner to love you the way they want to because you don't trust them. So you might push them away because of that. It actually affects your self-esteem, can actually create issues within the relationship, which may create a little bit more instability. And that does lead to a higher rate of breakups. Research does show people with lower self-esteem actually experience that instability within relationships and breakups. And what happens is this internal self-evaluation, how you perceive yourself, you feel like you're not good enough or not healthy enough, it actually influences the key foundations of relationships, which can in fact be interpreted as relationship success or fail, which basically means people who have lower self-esteem based on research, they have less success with relationships. The next one is that it affects the emotional closeness. A lot of people who struggle with the negative self-talk, they're actually afraid of vulnerability and being their true self because they feel like their true self is not bad. So they may have a wall up. So it's very hard for your partner to get close to you, right? The next one is you actually may, not all of you guys do this, but some of you, that self-loathing may turn into emotional dependence because if that person does, in fact, love you and take care of you, sometimes what ends up happening is you don't really value yourself. And so you value them and how they perceive you because you're not doing that for yourself. So let's say you have a girlfriend and she thinks you're attractive and you don't think you're attractive, but you're very dependent on her reassurance and her compliments because her reassurance and compliments are going to pull both the weight. So her side and then your side, because you are not meeting yourself where you need to by complimenting yourself or believing you're attractive. So you might lean on her a little bit more than maybe she was expecting. And so how do you fix this? Therapy obviously is one of the best options. I'm a therapist, so that's what I believe in. However, I can give you a quick rundown of things. It's not going to be as detailed as obviously continuous therapy sessions, but notice yourself when you are self-loathing. I think this is really important. And from a psychoanalytical perspective, which is what I am, psychoanalyst, understanding these things and bringing the subconscious into the conscious is part of our healing, okay? So even just saying, I'm annoying, I mess everything up, no one wants me around. Notice that you're doing that and then try to stop yourself from doing it. Obviously, that sounds really obvious, but it is true. Just paying attention to it, automatically you'll start wanting to stop yourself do that. Stop treating your feelings as proof is the next one. Stop saying that I'm unattractive and this girl gave me a look and this is proof that I'm ugly. You don't know what she was thinking. She could have had a bad day. Maybe she thought you didn't like her. That's why you're staring at her. You never know. And so instead of taking your feelings as proof, just use facts as proof. And even still, your facts are biased to challenge those negative thoughts. Because a lot of times I have patients like this. I have a lot of patients like this where they're like, oh, there's no woman that likes me. And then when you look into his history, he's like literally been avoiding commitment his whole life and been rejecting women. And he's like, well, I wasn't rejecting her. I just thought that she deserved better. I don't think she liked me. She never said that she liked me. And maybe she did, but it was indirect. So it's not like I don't understand where he's coming from. But in actuality, these women cared about him. He was just kind of running away from it. But he didn't mean to. It's not like he was trying to hurt her. This is what ends up happening. He treats his feelings like proof without seeing the facts. And then his fact is, oh, I've been single for 40 years, so this is proof, without him actually challenging even that fact. Sometimes you have to realize that no matter what, we don't know the whole picture. Always leave a little bit of room for someone else to invite new knowledge. Because a lot of people who struggle with self-loathing, they actually struggle with the fear of uncertainty. And so what you do is you fill the certainty with negativity because that's what you're used to. And it makes you feel like you can prepare yourself instead of allowing yourself to realize, you know what, even if I feel like this is true, I still have gaps in my knowledge, right? So stop treating your feelings as proof. Let compliments land. Even if you can't accept them or don't feel them, don't argue with them. If someone gives you a compliment, accept it. And the next one is set small boundaries, even just a little bit. You can say no once. I don't know, once a month, whatever you want to do. You can share an opinion. If you really have an opinion, go ahead and share it. This one is interesting for me because I actually have to be, when I was younger, like when I was a teenager, I actually was very like closed off and very cold. And some of you guys know this if you're from my other channel. And I would always set so much boundaries that I would just shut people off completely. And I didn't mean to do that. So it's really interesting that some people struggle with it the other way around, but we're all different. And that's what I love about humans and psychology, right? So sharing your opinion is a good way to also set those boundaries. Hey, I disagree with that, or I hear what you're saying, but I actually heard something different. This is my belief, right? It just shows that you matter as well. Subconsciously, you realize you matter as well. And this is one of the most important ones, okay? Be careful who you learn your self-image from. I cannot emphasize that enough. I really think, if anything, please try and think about this. If someone constantly criticizes, compares, or makes you feel small, this person is abnormal. I don't care if you're going to argue with me and say, oh, it's true. What they say is true. I am a bad person or whatever it is. Any person who wastes their energy doing that, it's just they are abnormal. They don't have much to do. They get something out of hurting you, and they're skewing your self-image. And this does include even your mom and your dad. This does include your girlfriend or your boyfriend. If someone continues to do this, there's something wrong with them. It's not you. No matter how horrible of a person you think you are, nobody in a healthy mindset is going to waste their energy. They're 24 hours of the day sitting and criticizing you. Nobody will do that if they're normal, okay? So please try to think about that. And I also want you to understand your self-image of yourself is not always correct either. You have a negative self-image of yourself based on the things that you've seen. If somebody sees you in a good light, let them. Learn from other people. Allow your self-image to be flexible, okay? And the next one might be a little silly, but I think it might be helpful. And sometimes it can help to write it down if you like, or just challenge it or pay attention to it. Look for evidence against those negative thoughts that you have. Let's say you have a negative thought that you're mean. Is there proof that you're not mean? I know there is. Did you donate to, the church during Christmas? If you did, that's a kind act. If you, maybe you decided to buy presents outside of your means, that's a kind act. Anything. Maybe you cooked something for your neighbors. Try and challenge those negative thoughts even a little bit and have evidence of it. This is really important because a lot of times you guys will start realizing that the negative thoughts in your mind are not accurate, okay? There's a lot of research for this one, and it's going to be in the description box. I really hope it all fits because there is a limit. But if not, I'm going to put it also in the comment section, whichever one goes where, okay? I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.